We now have a situation where on the one hand you've got jobs which are being accelerated because of greater digitization, where there's immense demand. Anybody in that space is just very happy with the way things are. And then there are those who don't necessarily come from technical backgrounds, for whom computerization and digitalization isn't necessarily what they've done all this while. And their upskilling becomes very critical. But do you think that those who come from non-tech backgrounds now just have a disadvantage that you need to live with? Or what would be your suggestion on how they can actively upskill themselves in the absence of technical know-how?
So I would think it's a huge mistake if people think that just because I need to have technical skills, let's say humanities, skills of people are not important anymore. And I was mentioning in one of my reunion talks at HBS that one must always think about technology and people as two sides of a coin. The more you build technology, the more you have to think about what is the impact that's going to have on people. And I said in my reunion talks, and I'm of course very proud to say it here again, is that for me, much of that learning and understanding came from Gandhiji. I mentioned in my talk that my father was part of the freedom struggle, very much follower of Gandhiji. So we learned Gandhiji's 7 deadly sins, as a very important lesson to absorb. And so even as I think about some of the things that we're talking about, imagine what this would do. Science without humanity. Potential for commerce without morality. Potential for knowledge without character. And of course, I would also add pleasure without conscience, and then there are the other three that may not directly apply in this particular context. But I think it's crucial that every time we keep raising the bar on what happens with technology, you are at great peril if you ignore the humanity or the connection with people to occur. So that's on one side. So I think it's a huge mistake. And it's certainly at the business school, we are very careful, even as we are creating these new institutes for digital and data and design and business and society, we're very carefully considering how you think about people as well as technology. Technology is definitely going to keep going. In fact, it's going to go faster. What we have seen is going to keep accelerating. Think about Web 3.0. Think about what will happen in the metaverse. Think quantum computing, edge computing. So it's going to keep going, no question. I think it's a huge risk if we do that at the cost of people. That's sort of one. Second, there's a very interesting book that my colleague Sidal Neely and one of her colleagues at the University of Southern California, Paul Lenardi, wrote, which says that, of course, you've got to have a digital mindset now as in terms of your leadership skills. But they call it the 30% rule. You don't have to be a real expert to the extent of 100% of knowing all these things. You don't have to feel like, oh my God, I don't have this skill and so I'm out. You actually don't need that. But then as you think about that 30% and you think about what does that do in terms of the ability to achieve better coordination, the ability to do better computation, the ability to think about change management, you can see already that there are so many elements here coming together. So I'm a big believer in the fact that even as these technologies go, management and thinking about people, which is almost always at the core of management, will still be, if anything, an even more important skill.